Yeah, well, I've raised this issue repeatedly as well with you, Taoiseach, and I just go as far as to say that the failure to have an all-Ireland integrated strategy in terms of dealing with COVID-19 amounts to a sabotage of the efforts that are necessary to deal with COVID-19. That's how high the stakes are, and I think all of the public health experts and infectious disease experts, epidemiologists and so on understand that. It's just ABC that we've got a serious problem if we're operating on two different strategies, two different timescales, two different approaches. We've got a serious problem. So there could be nothing more important than addressing this issue. I will say, just in relation to our earlier debate on the testing and tracing, you know, if we don't have staff, I hope to God they're not on agency contracts up the north. You know, I should have concluded the email I got from that contract tracer where she finishes off by saying, the bad treatment and lack of pay are making me seriously reconsider undertaking the role, or if I do, I will almost certainly jump ship as soon as I'm offered employment where I'm actually valued. That's on foot of one of these CPL contracts, right? If that's the attitude of our contact tracers that we're recruiting, it doesn't bode well for when things really get serious. So we need an integrated approach. Now, what I want to just know is, you know, what tangible moves have you made and what responses? Yeah, but I want to know what responses are you getting, because I am also curious about what's going on in the executive. So I am genuinely. What is happening up there in terms of this, right? We've got a serious problem on, what is it, the 14th of November, when restrictions are lifted in the north, when the situation is worse up there. That's going to be a serious problem for any efforts we're making down here to drive down the infection rate. So it is a matter of urgency to renew our efforts to have a coordinated, aligned, integrated strategy in relation to the public health effort. So, and by the way, Taoiseach, just have you contacted also the UK authorities about this, about the value and imperative of an all-Ireland strategy to deal with COVID-19?
Okay, can we give the Taoiseach a chance to reply then, please, deputies?
To say at the outset, I have to reject really the assertions made by Deputy Tobin. They're wrong, simply wrong, overly simplistic, and obviously there's been very regular contact between at multiple levels, which that's the way it has to be. I'm engaged with the First Minister and the Deputy First Minister. North-South Ministerial Council, the first one we had in 3.5 years, because of the executive being collapsed, and the Assembly was on the 31st of July. We brought the two CMOs along to that, Northern Ireland CMO and the then acting CMO, Ronan Glynn. And COVID was a central agenda item of the North-South Ministerial Council. There was very good engagement in relation to Donegal, Derry and Strabane at a practical level. The more this is hyped politically, the less is going to happen, straight up. So we can do all the grandstanding in the House here that you like, but the more grandstanding you do, the less effective actually that will be in terms of trying to get on the ground pragmatic engagement and coordination. That's my read of it, to be straight up. There's two jurisdictions, whether we like that, there's two jurisdictions, two ministers for health, you have two health systems, you have a CMO in the north and CMO in the Republic. They do meet and they do engage. The Shared Island unit, for example, is working more broadly. We've created a new unit there in terms of ongoing engagement across the board, and COVID-19 is seen as an area which should transcend borders in terms of the implications for everybody on the island. And there is structured clinical engagement. I was surprised at Deputy MacDonald's comment. If I heard correctly, you were saying that the Minister for Health has said the Republic is not playing ball or a short change. I don't think that's accurate, and because I know in my conversations with the HSE, and these are matters that should be left at the clinical level in terms of hospitals to hospitals. And I don't want to in any way engage any politicisation of that, just that there should be practical, pragmatic, clinical engagement on both sides of the border. That will continue, and it is happening. And the Minister for Health had a recent conversation with the Minister for Health and the Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly, with Minister Robin Swan, and it was a constructive engagement. And that's That is the reality of that. I think it's in terms of, Deputy MacDonald will know how difficult it is within the executive. Sinn Féin found itself supporting the closure of schools in the north, supports the opening of schools in the Republic. There are different sort of maybe approaches being adopted. I think Sinn Féin know full well the difficulties within the executive. In this House, for example, every day we had a row again today because people want exemptions to this and that. The same applies in the north. Some people in the north politically want certain sectors open, other sectors not, closed, and there's been different rows about that. It's been the same in the Republic. As soon as restrictions are brought in, people are going to start saying, oh, can we get an exemption from that restriction and an exemption from another restriction? That has happened on the executive. My genuine view is that the next agenda item really is to try and see how things evolve in the north in the coming fortnight in terms of the incidences, the level of cases, and their position in relation to the ending of their current phase of restrictions and the reviewing of that and what they intend to do, because that is important from our perspective, because we're, to the end of the month, we'll be at level 5. And we want to get the numbers very low. I've also spoken to the British government, to Boris Johnson, seeking, making sure that he would underpin and support the Northern Executive in terms of funding that might be required to help them support businesses as a result of the restrictions that they brought in.